Today we're talking about something that Subaru owners ignore constantly, every single day, up until the point where it's too late. Now this is really frustrating because it's not complicated, it's not expensive, it doesn't require any special tooling or education training, but when it rears its head, it results in engine failures, repair bills that are four figures, and the continued thought from people saying that Subarus are not reliable. With that said, let's get into it. What Subaru owners ignore isn't a part. It's not something that is hard to keep track of. It's oil awareness, the number one killer, I think, of Subarus. We're not talking about oil changes. We're not talking about brands or viscosity or any of that debate. We're simply talking about awareness of the oil in their engine and its level and its condition between services. That's it. It's pretty cut, dry, and easy. Now, Subarus are unique in the fact that when you have oil issues, they don't tend to give you a lot of warning. They kind of just fail. Now, that's not to say that Subarus have bad engines or a poor design. Just the Boxer engine acts differently than an inline engine, a V engine, W engine, etc. The pistons are flat, the cylinders are flat, the way the oil drains, the way the lubrication system works, it's completely different in a Boxer engine compared to those inlines, the Vs, the Ws, and other configurations. Again, it's not saying that the Boxer is flawed or bad, it just doesn't tolerate neglect, especially when it comes to the engine oil, the lifeblood of any engine. Most engines don't tolerate low oil levels, or they don't respond well to those low oil levels, and Subarus are not exempt from that. They will just not give you a lot of warning and fail when you neglect to keep the oil at the proper level and in a good condition. I see Subarus come in with no warning light, no noise in the engine, no drivability concerns, yet I check the oil and they are already dangerously low. I hear people say, well, it was just running perfectly fine. Well, Subarus tend to run perfectly fine right up to the moment when they don't. You know, Subarus aren't known for giving you a lot of those heads up like other engines do. There's not a lot of, a slight knocking noise. There's not the warning light popping up. Normally by the time that low oil pressure or low oil level light tops up, you've already done some damage and you can't reel it back in, put the genie back in the bottle, so to say. At that point, it's normally spun rod bearing, no oil pressure, and catastrophic engine failure. At that point, the conversation is no longer, well, what happened? It's how much is it going to cost to fix this, repair this, and get me back on the road. And that's not a repair bill that you want to be handed, because it's going to be several $1,000s to replace that engine for something so cheap and easy to do as checking and topping up engine oil. So yeah, we're talking about oil and keeping the oil level correct in the Subarus. Where is the oil going? Why do we have to keep checking the oil? Why do we need to top it up? Well, there's many reasons why your Subaru may be losing or consuming oil. Oil consumption is a big one, and it's not a Subaru-only issue. This is an industry-wide issue. It affects all automotive brands now. This is an issue that was resolved for many years and has came back in the last decade or so, maybe 2 decades now. But it's industry-wide. It's not Subaru-specific. Subarus are not the only modern engines consuming engine oil. Now, again, we've said this is the result of many different things, one of which being the lower tension piston rings for reducing internal friction in the engine, not holding the oil back from the combustion chamber as well. Another is extended oil change intervals and neglect, where people are not changing their oil frequently, sludge is building up, and that sludge is hanging up those rings that aren't as stout as they once were, and sticking those oil control rings where they're not doing their job and not wiping that oil back down as the piston comes down and allowing that oil to go in the combustion chamber and burn. So we have a culmination of those rings being a little bit weaker. They sludge up easier when you neglect your oil change interval. People going longer between their oil changes or completely ignoring them, which causes the sludge issue. There's a lot of relation to these issues. A lot of it being the oil viscosity, the ever plummeting thickness of oil, again, to free up that internal friction and bring out the MPGs, going from 530 or 1030 to 530 to 020 and now to 016 and 08 in some newer engines. That thinner oil is much harder to keep back with the oil control ring. So again, getting in there and being consumed, being burned. So it's a culmination of lots of issues as to where this oil is going in the form of consumption. On the flip side of that, you got to worry about the oil leaking. Again, we know with the F-Series engines, head gaskets aren't as big a concern as they were with the EJ Series engines, but now we have to worry about the cam carrier leaks. We have to worry about timing chain cover leaks. There's all these surfaces that are leaking oil because there's like 10 times or more surface area in the F-Series engine due to its construction compared to the older EJ Series boxer engine where oil can leak. And again, that thinner viscosity oil can leak easier because it can flow more freely and is thinner, so it can get out easier. So we're leaking oil, we're consuming oil, and modern vehicles just discourage people from doing their own services, doing their own maintenance, even something as simple as checking your engine oil. It's kind of discouraged. They want you to bring it to the dealership. They don't want you to touch it. They don't want you going under the hood. A lot of owner's manuals now don't even give you specifications for fluids or intervals, or tell you the locations of things, or they cover the entire engine bay in a sheet of plastic where you can't even get to anything to do any work without taking off all these beauty covers. So it's a big issue a lot of times with just the average automotive owner, average consumer that's not mechanically minded, that, hey, oil checking might be kind of intimidating. But it's important that we check our oil and check it regularly, especially in a Subaru, especially with the consumption and leakage issues, and especially with the fact that the boxer engine doesn't tolerate oil abuse, neglect, and low levels of engine oil. So it's always a great idea to, at every fill up or every other fuel fill up, check your oil. What else are you going to do while the fuel is pumping, waiting for that handle to click off? Pop the hood, pull the dipstick out, wipe it, put it back in, check the oil level. If it's low, top it up. It's very easy to keep a quart of extra Subaru engine oil in the back of the car. I do in all of my Subarus, and people might laugh about it, but I'd rather top up my oil than destroy my engine. It's a lot cheaper that way. Now, a lot of you are probably watching this video thinking, again, as most people that watch my videos, Subarus are junk. Why would you own a Subaru? They must have a horrible reputation. All I hear about is head gasket failures and CVT failures, and I would never buy a Subaru. It's not that Subarus are bad. They are not bad in any way, shape, or form. They're just unforgiving to neglect. You have to service them. You have to be mindful of many more things than, some other cars that you can just beat into the ground. Now, it's not to say that Subaru is a weak vehicle. Again, it just doesn't tolerate the neglect like others do. And some of you see that as a weakness, and I don't understand it in the comments where people will compare Subaru to Toyota or to an F-150 or whatever, and I haven't changed my oil in 15,000 miles, and I've been 3 quarts low, and every light's on, and it still runs every day. Where is the pride in that? I've never understood the pride in showing how neglected and unserviced your vehicle is, and the fact that somehow, by some miracle, it's still running, whereas a Subaru or maybe another brand wouldn't tolerate that level of abuse. I gotta tell you, I've seen plenty of well-abused Subarus still making it down the road, and I still own, drive, and buy Subaru vehicles. I fix them almost every single day. I see problem after problem, but it doesn't dissuade me from the brand. I'm here talking about this stuff, as I do every week, to help inform people that don't have Subarus, never owned a Subaru, or looking into the Subaru brand, or owners to prolong the life of their Subaru. Because, again, information is power. Whether you want that or you look at that information negatively is up to your own interpretation. Because I've got plenty of Subaru engines or Subaru vehicles with their original engine and CVT over 250,000 miles, over 300,000 miles. I've never had an engine failure or a CVT failure because I check my oil, I check my coolant, I service regularly, I do the preventative maintenance. I don't go and drive it until it doesn't drive anymore. And that's a thing that I see a lot, especially nowadays, where people put gas in their car, check the oil every once in a while, change it maybe once or twice a year, and they're good in their mind until they're not. So again, I know a lot of people watch my videos and say I'm super negative or super critical of the Subaru brand, and that's just not the truth. You look at other brands, say Humble Mechanic with Volkswagens. He shows every single issue and problem that Volkswagen and Audi have. Is he being hypercritical or showing how bad Volkswagen and Audi are when he owns Volkswagens and Audis and working on them? No. So I don't understand. Again, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but a lot of times I see people say that I'm very negative about Subaru, and I just don't feel that's the case. So talking about these high mileage Subarus that I see very regularly, over 250,000 miles, over 300, over 400,000 miles. What's the difference between those and the ones that fail early on, under 100,000 miles? A lot of times, it's the owner. It's an owner that's engaged and well-versed in their vehicle and keeping on top of their maintenance and their fluids. That's the big difference. People taking care of their Subaru versus neglecting their Subaru. Anything in life worth having is worth taking care of, and your car is no exemption. Guys, hopefully this video helped you out if you're looking at Subarus or you're a current Subaru owner, and helping you prolong the life of your Subaru, or hopefully not dissuading you away from the Subaru brand. This is not to say that they are overly complex or overly complicated or very fussy vehicles. You just have to do the bare minimum, and a lot of people have kicked the goalpost or pushed the goalpost of what bare minimum was for being an owner of a vehicle over the last 20, 30 years. It's dramatic seeing what the average vehicle owner considers bare minimum now versus just 10, 20, 30 years ago. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for future Subaru and tool content. I'll see you guys in the next one.